Hi, Jessica. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I'm excited to be speaking with you today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we dive into your thoughts on marketing, I'd love for you in your own words to share a little bit about yourself and what does a day in the life of Jessica look like?
Ooh, that's a good one. I will give you just a little bit of a background. My first life, as I like to call it, started in the corporate world in marketing and sales. And shortly after being in that world, I realized it was not for me. And I went back to graduate school where I obtained my master's degree in clinical psychology. I now am a owner of my own private practice. I specialize in sudden and traumatic loss, a little bit of grief therapy, and in combination with some couples therapy. I also am the co-host of the Honest Women podcast, which we launched just shy of a year ago. We're very excited about that. And then at night, I am the mom to a 10 and 7 year old, and then, of course, a wife as well. There's a lot going on in my world on a day to day basis.
So I love your background that then fuels your current practice. And I say that because I speak to people who might have this specific domain expertise. My dad's a dentist. I'll give that example. He has no idea about what marketing is. So how did your background actually in marketing sales fuel your practice and what I assume is, potentially a way to scale it maybe faster than some of your peers?
I noticed right away when I entered this field how few people in psychology actually know anything about sales and marketing. And it's such an important thing, especially if you're trying to build your own private practice. So I tell people today, hey, listen, if you want to go into psychology, great, get a business background first.
Mm,
Because without that sales perspective, without knowing how to properly market yourself, you're one in a million. So
mm.
right away, when I went into a group private practice before I branched off on my own, I had a sales and marketing strategy. And a lot of people in the field and people I worked with looked at me like I was completely just lost my mind. Why do you need this? Why would you do this? And to me, it was second nature
Mhm.
after being in the sales and marketing world.
What's the difference between sales and marketing, in your opinion?
In my opinion, sales would be almost selling somebody else's product versus marketing your own services. That's how I look at it. I also think sales can be a more product based. So selling a
Mhm.
product, I have sold and am continuing to sell some continuing education courses. I look at that more as sales versus marketing is a little bit more personal to me. It's talking about who I am, why in the heck you should listen to me talk or come talk with me. So I put marketing a little bit more personal.
I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into how that relates to your current private practice. Can you share, some overarching marketing strategies that you utilize?
Yes. So I am a very transparent human being. What you see is what you get. I blame that on my inability to lie, which is why I sometimes say I sucked at sales when I was in the corporate world. I have a really hard time not just being honest.
Mhm.
What really drives a lot of my marketing is my own personal experiences in my life. So, going back to right after grad school, I actually lost my dad suddenly and
Mm.
unexpectedly. He died by suicide. And I went to a number of therapists within the field who really didn't know anything about the sudden and traumatic loss. And so, a lot of my marketing now is about helping others go through something that I myself went through. So there's a
Mm.
lot of honesty, there's a lot of authenticity, there's a lot of vulnerability in how I market myself to the people that I work with.
Is that easy for you to speak that authentically and also apology is not the right word, but my heart's out to you and your family with that experience you
Oh,
went through.
thank you. Thank you. You know what? I always say that pain can truly provide us with a new purpose,
Mhm.
and we just have to know how to redirect it. And that's what I've done kind of with my own pain is redirect it into something that drives so much of the work that
Mhm.
I do today. And when it comes to talking about my own story, It is yes and no. When I say, is it easy? Yes. Is it hard? Yes. Right. Um, there's profound pain with it, right? But there's
Mhm.
also a lot of insight and a lot of just raw emotion and feelings, which really then, if you look at any of the marketing I do or any of the videos, the reels, they're very authentic. You can
Mhm.
see the emotion, you can see the pain, which then helps me provide or helps me, excuse me, connect with the end user. I think they can pick up, even if it's on a screen, they can pick
Mhm.
up on somebody's authenticity. And you
Mhm.
can truly see, wow, like this person is telling me a story that they truly connect with. They're not just reading a script.
Mhm. I want to dive into storytelling a little bit, and I'm going to give an example that I know before I say it, you're going to think in your mind, that's a dumb example, but I'm going to go with it anyway, since it happened just last night. So I am a huge WWE fan, and last night was
Love it.
WrestleMania, and I forced my wife to watch the main event with me. And
Oh my gosh,
so
that's amazing.
the guy who I wanted to win, who was kind of the bad guy, he lost, and then the good guy, his name was Cody Rhodes, he won. And afterwards, my wife was like, "Oh, why are you mad?" I was like, "Oh, I wanted Roman to win. He was the champ." And she was like, "Well, Cody had a really good story. You know, his dad died. His dad never won the championship. You know, you kind of wanted him to win, didn't you?" And she'd never experienced any. I think this is the first time I forced her to sit down and actually watch, and it picked up like that. Like I gravitate towards his story. So that is an off the shoot way for me to bring into your example of storytelling and why is that so important as a marketer?
Oh, I think that's actually a brilliant example because you're talking about somebody who has no interest in
Mhm.
something, right? And they're watching it. And a lot of times we as humans have to find something to connect to, right?
Mhm.
And so your wife right away connected with somebody else's story,
Mhm.
right? My thought is that that story and the way in which it was told or he had told it brought like connected with her on an emotional level.
Mhm.
And I truly feel like if there was more emotion in a lot of the marketing that you see out there, it would take a lot less time to find the people that you want to work with,
Mhm.
right? You're connecting with your own experience. So you're naturally telling that story, which can come off and a way that people just gravitate to. They grasp it.
Mhm.
They're like, yes, you understand, you get it. I want to work with you. I want to know more about your story. I mean, that is just connection 101.
Mhm.
That is often lacking in marketing, in my opinion.
They always say in WWE that they just want you to feel something. It doesn't matter what emotion comes out, just something. The worst thing that can happen is just indifference and no reaction from you.
Yes, that is spot on. Indifference, right? That's like that melancholy. Nobody connects with that. You
Right.
just keep swiping, you keep passing, you don't read the rest of it, you don't keep watching. It's the way to lose people.
If we were to bring this into something a little bit more tangible, though, can
Mhm.
you talk about some of the marketing channels with how you tell your own story and whether that's social media, offline? You know, love to hear, what are the marketing channels that you utilize?
Yeah, social media. I have a love hate. I have a love hate with social media. I tried really hard to just pretend I didn't need to do it. Yeah, you do, right? You have to do it. So I will say one of the hard things for me with social media that is definitely an avenue that I utilize. I utilize Instagram quite a bit. I make a lot of reels. I have a lot of
Mhm.
content there. One of the hardest things for me was to show up with that authenticity that I can show up
Mhm.
with when I'm having a conversation with somebody one on one, like we're doing now, or
Mhm.
in person. It's really easy for me to tell my story when I'm doing it. But when you have to do it in like a 30-second social media clip, it is so hard. Right. And so a lot of the way in which I had to do it was just to throw out any and all expectations. It's just to
Mhm.
say, listen, here's who I am. This is, and people are going to love it and people are going to hate it. It just is. So social media is a big one. With Instagram, I am now jumping into the YouTube world with my podcast. And doing a lot more. We have shorts that are going out there. This is a little bit newer of an avenue. It definitely brings out a whole new audience.
Mhm.
So I've yet to find that, the people who find me and see me on YouTube are the same ones on Instagram. It's a completely new platform. And then also we're taking on, or I'm working on taking on Facebook, where I can set up more of that group, right?
Mhm.
So I find Facebook is a great place to create like a smaller community, right?
Mhm.
There's a little bit more, you can have a little bit more of a controlled space versus just putting something out there and hoping the algorithm picks it up. So social media is definitely one. Another way in which I do it is through teaching and speaking. And that kind of comes with I had to find my target audience, right?
Mhm.
What do people work with? What do they want to know and what do they want to hear? For me, a lot of that is from the professional aspect of clinically, right? So then that marketing is completely shifted to now I'm looking more on LinkedIn, right? And looking at professionals and psychologists and clinicians out there, pastors, preachers, whoever, and
Mhm.
tailoring that message to them. So I will say, when it comes to marketing, you really have to be versatile and knowing what message to place where. And it really isn't often the exact same message on all platforms.
Can you share a little bit more around the education you need to provide?
Mhm.
And I'll give this example. I have this little coffee mug.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is my wife bought this for me, but if I would have bought it for myself, I'd go to Amazon, I'd type in Marvel superheroes, I'd look at a few reviews, find whatever was the cheapest and buy it. And that's a 30-second process. But to work with someone like you as a therapist, that's a very vulnerable decision for someone to make. And there's a lot of things going on. Is it covered by insurance? Am I ready for this? Whatever else is going on. So what is that educational process you need to walk someone through, and how does marketing help to fuel that?
So I would say the most important thing, at least in my field and for, that coaching world, that therapist world, that you should be doing is developing a niche. What
Mhm.
do you do? Right. And so when I first started in this field, I knew that what I wanted to specialize was grief and traumatic loss. I knew that it was a journey I had
Mhm.
personally gone through. And then I knew that I needed more education in order to obtain that. Right.
Mhm.
So then when I developed that niche, well, now I know who I need to reach out to.
Mhm.
Hospitals, funeral homes, right? Like connecting
Mhm.
with organizations and doctors' offices that I know they're looking to send people to. But
Mhm.
I will say, like in my field, one of the biggest mistakes people make is just trying to do anything and everything,
Mhm.
right? Like, oh, I can see that. I can see that. I can do that. Oh, I can do that. No, you can't. I'm sorry. I know it's a big statement, but if you want to be a general practitioner in therapy, well, that's what you have to call yourself, a general
Mhm.
practitioner. If you truly want to grow yourself in this field, you've got to develop a niche. And you have to find out where those people are and
Mhm.
how you're going to get to them.
Was that hard for you to niche down, or did you want to be anything for everyone all at the same time?
It was not hard for me to niche down. I actually personally felt like if I was trying to be anything for everyone, that I was doing everybody a disservice.
Mhm.
Like I said from the very beginning, and why I don't think I was very good in the corporate and sales world is because I'm too honest and too transparent. So if somebody were to come to me and when I started in a group practice, and I remember I would have the front desk lady be like, oh, this person wants to come talk to you and they're struggling with OCD. My first thing I would say to them is, that's not what I do. I
Mhm.
don't do OCD. Well, but you studied it in grad school. Well, yeah, but guess what? There's 100,000 other therapists who study that and do that better than I do. And
Mhm.
I think you've got to be able to put your ego aside sometimes too to say, is that where an area of focus? And is it something that I want to be known for? And if
Mhm.
the answer is no, well, then you got to be okay kind of pushing that aside and saying, who is that end user?
Mhm.
Who am I trying to target here?
I want to speak a little bit higher level in
Yep.
marketing and hear from you. What is an area of marketing that you're excited about in 2024? And whether that's something in AI, a new SaaS product, new social media platform, what's getting you excited this year about marketing?
I just found, and you might laugh at me because it's probably something that everybody knows, maybe, but I didn't. Do you know Opus Clips? Do you know Opus Clips, the tool?
I I do not actually.
Oh
So
my
tell me
gosh. Okay,
more.
good. I'm so excited about this then. I just found Opus Clips and it has been a game changer for my world. So essentially, you upload video and it has AI generated video clips. And I know there's
Mhm.
other things out there that do this. I have yet to find one that does it this well.
Have you
And
heard of
it
Video Tap?
video tap.
I think that's the one we use.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I'm totally, it's just a, a SaaS product, you buy in the background. So how do you spell that one you were mentioning? So I can
Opus
look that.
is OPUS
Okay.
clips.
Okay. Continue on. I just wanted to hear if you heard of that one we use, but
No,
yeah,
I have
love to
not
hear
heard of that
more.
one. I've tried a bunch of them and they just, I don't know. I end up going in there and spending so much time cutting my own clips. And this
Oh
Opus
yeah.
Clips has been a
It's so
game
nice.
changer, right? It's a game changer and it's good content. So a lot of the times the videos that I had coming out, I'm like, that is not a message that I want to be sharing. I don't feel like that was the strongest point
Mhm.
in that podcast episode or in that speech that I was giving. And those have made social media and the online platform really finding tools like that have taken like 8 hours of time and reduced it to like 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Super excited about that. AI in general, I'm playing around with a little bit. I have a husband that's in that world. He's in the cybersecurity, all that world. So he finds it a lot cooler and easier to navigate than I do. I really just like the video because I want to be seen versus content like creation and
Mhm.
writing stuff. I personally think I like to do that on my own. It's more my own versus like the videos. Very, very excited about that. That's been a game changer for me. I will also say, just transporting all of our podcast stuff onto YouTube and having that as a whole new platform of actually watching the video alongside the audio.
Mhm.
Very excited about that. We're working on some new branding to go along
Nice.
with it because of it. Yeah. And that is probably the one thing I'm most excited about is really just embracing the YouTube video world.
Awesome. I Let me add in a few things about VideoTap. And this is, I have no affiliation with it, but what's really cool about that is it not only can you upload your video and then it will give you, the 30 to 45-second little split. It will then tell you what tags to have within YouTube. So it will SEO the video with all those recommendations. It will then create a blog post for you with it all SEO'd and all the meta tags and everything. And then it will come out with, I want to say, 6 little tweet quotes you could have as well to then turn that directly into social content as well.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
pretty
That is
cool.
awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to get on that and compare it with Opus and see which one I like better. You know what's a good problem to have? Multiple tools that do good things,
That's true.
right? I'm excited about that because I feel like in this AI generated world, there's been a lot of sorting through tools that just aren't good,
Right.
right? And that's been very time consuming for sure. So finding a good product and being able to utilize that has been a big part, which is a lot of research, right? You have to do the research behind it. And I think that's another thing when it comes to marketing that people have to be okay with is sometimes you have to take a little step backwards where
Mhm.
you're spending more time like diving into the nitty gritty, which you can see that decrease, right? There could be a small decrease in revenue, or you
Mhm.
might not get as many, click throughs or follow throughs, or the analytics might change, but then they take a
Mhm.
huge leap forward. And I had to be okay with that, especially in the podcasting world, with taking a step back in order to propel forward.
Mhm. I love for you to expand upon that. And with this being the last question as well, is what is a marketing fail that you've had that provided the most growth and learning for you?
Oh man, working too hard. I know. And I'll be more specific there, but really letting go of what I can source out.
Mhm.
Okay. So I will say finding and talking to people, right? To say, do you know somebody who can do this? Do you know a product? I spent so much time trying to do that on my own,
Mhm.
mostly because I was so attached to what I'm doing. I have a lot of passion for what I do, which is great. Except for when you can't let stuff go,
Mhm.
right? And you can't hand it off, or you can't say, listen, I really need a virtual assistant or somebody to assist me with creating these clips. Do you know anybody who can help me? And I will say that that was the biggest thing I learned in 2023 is what I can do and what I need to
Mm,
outsource and maybe spend a little money doing it. It's
love it.
okay.
So Jessica, the last thing for today is if someone is inspired by this conversation and wants to follow up with you, learn more about you, can you share any links, social media handles, best ways to get
I
in
sure
touch?
can. I sure can. I have a couple different ways you can reach me. You can check me out on my website, which is www.jlhutchison. You can blame my husband for how you spell the last name, Hutchison. There's no N after that I. You can also find me on Instagram at JL Hutchison LCPC. I am on LinkedIn, Jessica L. Hutchison LCPC. You can also find my podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. It's the Honest Women Podcast. We're also on YouTube now. That was something we just launched. So not only can you hear me, you can see me now too.
Perfect, Jessica. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.